Hey everyone, it's Stefanie Garcia, and this is the Art of Becoming series, where we talk all about the journey between where you are right now and where you want to be, and all the stuff that has to happen in between to get you there. If you're ready, let's get started. Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Where I'm at, we are in the full swing of summer, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I just decided that I was going to take this summer off. Last couple summers, I've been working through the summer, and that just kind of made me feel a little bit off in the fall. And so this year, I decided to do something a little bit different and really be present with this season. And I will tell you, it's made a world of difference. So I'm enjoying myself with that, and I hope you all are enjoying yourself as well. Interesting story. This is the second time that I've recorded this episode. The first time I recorded it was in May, and we had some big audio issues with that. That's since been resolved, but I didn't like the quality of it, and I decided I was going to re-record it. And so here I am re-recording this episode. And the reason I tell you that is because I feel like who I was and where I was in my life in May when I did record this episode versus where I am right now in my life a few months later, I feel like I can relate to the subject that this episode's about in a little bit of a different way. So as we're getting ready to kind of start, I've been in the full swing of summer and enjoying that. But at the same time, I'm aware that school is right around the corner and fall is getting ready to be here. And as I start moving into the fall and as I start to move into the school season, I have a little bit more time to do things. I start to think about what it is that I want to accomplish, what it is that I want to do. Something about this time of year, as we get into August, where I start thinking, maybe many of us, I think, start thinking about what do we want to accomplish before the end of the year. And so that's been where my mind has been for a bit. And as my mind goes into those spaces, and I start thinking of some things that I want to do, the inevitable, well, what if I fail thought comes into my mind. So when the project's pretty big or something I've never done before stretches me a little bit, I start to think, well, what if it doesn't work out? What if I can't do it? What if I can't make it? What if I can't make that happen? You know, all those little things that I'm sure I'm not the only one that deals with or thinks about or has running around in their minds. And I know that many of you deal with this because I've talked to many of you, and I've heard many of your thoughts on some of the big projects and things that you're wanting to do. And it usually sounds to me like that seems to be the same consensus in our minds. It's always our minds go to is, well, what if I don't do it? What if I fail? So with that, I thought, I mean, that's initially what created this episode. That was the thinking around why I wrote this, the outline for this episode in May. And I'm really glad that I got the chance to re-record this because I have a little bit more that I can add to it. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into this topic. Let's talk about failure. I think failure is something that we kind of get wrapped up in our minds and we kind of warp it a little bit. I know that when I think about failure or I think about doing something and my brain goes, yeah, but what if? Failure in my mind is kind of like the end all be all, right? It's as if I'll never get another freaking chance to try it. Um, and that's it. If I ever mess up, you know, I'm screwed. But the truth is, when I really look back at my life, there's rarely ever been the case where I didn't get another chance to try something. Um, and so I really got me thinking, if I've always gotten another chance to try something, then what was I so afraid of? You know, what's really the problem then? You know, if I've always gotten another chance, then it's not really failing. So what's my issue? Well, when I really thought about it, I realized that failing doesn't feel good. Not getting something right doesn't feel good. It feels awkward and messy and tender even, you know. not getting something right the first go can feel almost embarrassing. And it's because our brains have it in our mind, like our minds think, um, have an idea of how we think it should go. And when the process of actually doing it doesn't match up with what our brain thinks it should, or how our brains think it should be, it's kind of spins us out, and our minds start thinking, is it even freaking worth it to do this? And that's why so many of us, when we get our first go at it and we don't get it right the first time, we are tempted to give up at the first go, because our brains go, it's not worth it. Because we want it to get done right the first time, the first go. We want it to be perfect. We don't want it to be messy. We don't want that awkwardness. And so it really brought it to perspective for me that I don't believe that we are afraid necessarily of failure. I believe that we are afraid of how we think failure is going to feel, or how we remember it made us feel in the past. And that's all understandable. However, it's not productive, because just the thought of failure has the ability to stop us in our tracks. And when it does that, we don't really get anything done. We don't really accomplish anything. So here's the reframe that I want to give you. What if failure is a good thing? What if failure is the best thing that can happen to you? What if you actually should actually want to go in the direction of failure? Hear me out. When we fail, it means two things. The first is that we have taken a step towards something that matters to us, and we've taken a step out of our comfort zone. Two, it means that we have data. So when I mess up on something, when I fail at something, when I try something and I don't quite get it right, or things don't end up going the way that I would want them to go the first go, I now am aware of how far I am from my goal. And I now have information around what needs to still get done, or what I still need to do in order to achieve that goal. And that information is valuable, because that is the path towards achieving it. That is the work to be done. That information that you gain is what you need to be using to get you to where you need to go. And you can't really achieve your goal without that information. And you can't actually get that information without messing up and failing your way there, right? This process is called failing forward. It's seeing failure as a part of the process towards your goal, not something that moves you further back from it. Now, it's not always going to feel comfortable, but when you can see it from this perspective, you can choose to let those emotions be temporary. You can even choose to move those feelings towards the background. So let me give you an example. Let's say you are going out dancing with your friends. And when you go out and dance with them, you realize they're so much better at you than you are at dancing. In fact, everybody around you is so much better at dancing, and it doesn't matter what you do, you still feel awkward, and you don't feel like you're doing great at it, and you might feel a little bit embarrassed, right? You can choose to see it from one of two ways. You can see it as, I suck, and I'm never doing this again, and that would be unproductive failing. Or you could choose to take dancing lessons. Now, you can take those dancing lessons, and in the first lesson, you may not get the steps right. You may not get the steps right on the second or third time, maybe even the fourth or the fifth, but every single time you're learning something new and you're trying something different. And every time you're getting better and better and better. That is productive failing. That is failing forward. And that leads you to your goals. So that's my perspective on failure. It's still a beast I'm tangling with myself, as I'm sure many of you are as well. So that's why I want your perspective. What do you think about failure? Do you love it? Or do you absolutely hate it? Do you feel like it's something that moves you towards your goals, or is it something that you absolutely don't even want to touch with a 10-foot pole? I want to know your perspective. So leave me a comment and tell me what you think. Also, if you are on the podcast, please leave me a review and let me know how I'm doing. And wherever you're at, I encourage you, please like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with each one of these episodes because I've got some great things coming and I love sharing my journey with all of you. And I love connecting with all of you and hearing your perspectives. So, guys, I hope you're having a great day and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like, share this episode with a friend. That way we can get it into the ears of people who need it the most. You can also visit my website at theartofbecoming.me. While there, you can go ahead and download my guide, Own That Shit, 3 ways to own who you are, own what you do, and own it out into the world. Thank you again so much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon.